So all that to say, what is truly happening is like this is something that is a big tidal wave that's occurring,
Mhm.
especially in the technology industry, like
Yes.
specifically. And we don't know how everything will be implemented, but people do see dollar signs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Fisher.
And I'm Dave Fisher. We're a husband and wife team of certified financial planners, and together we make up Team Fisher Financial. Welcome to our new series we're calling And Money.
As both a concept and an object, money is a prevalent component of our world and intersects with so many areas of our lives.
By the nature of our job as CFPs, our days are filled with constant conversations around money. Conversations we think are vital for people to consider and understand for their financial universe and beyond.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to And Money. We are going to continue our conversation
I had so
from,
much fun last time.
yes, from
Yes.
last time. We last time talked about AI
Mm-hmm.
and money, and it was actually from our work and money discussion. We had started talking about it, wanted to flesh it out. And after the episode ended, we actually felt like there was still more to say because it's such a
Broad concept,
and
and it's new.
and everyone's
Yeah.
talking about it from a lot of different angles. So we are going to do part 2
Mm-hmm.
of AI and money this morning.
Well, I felt it was a little bit light on the money part. This is and money, so AI and money. We wanted to make sure that we had a full scope of the money that is also part of the AI conversation.
Mhm.
So last time we talked about history and where did AI come from? It's been around for a long time, over
Mhm.
100 years. Like the concepts that we're learning about today are very new and exponential, but it has a big foundation, a long term foundation. So, what I wanted to hone in on was why is everybody so excited about AI from more of a company standpoint,
Mhm.
especially broad S&P 500 enterprise type companies? Why are they so excited about it? Is it paying off for them today, or do we have other things that we need to figure out, right?
Yeah.
So, wanted to dive in with a few things that were very interesting to me.
All right. Well, let's do it.
Let's talk about what the spend has been already. So, general ballpark for enterprise companies. These are companies making over $100 million.
How much
What do you think they have spent so far?
Oh, $45 billion.
You are so
Wait,
close.
really?
It's like 30 to 40 billion, generally speaking.
50 felt too high, 30 felt too low, so I just went right in the middle.
And that a lot of that's based off of
Wait,
people.
that's not in the middle.
A lot of it is based off. We're good at math around
Yes,
here. Don't worry
yes,
about it.
finance is our job. It's great. Maybe talk to him for the math part. Oh my word.
Not true.
Anyways, keep
Not
going.
true.
Mhm.
So what's interesting is like billions have been poured into it already.
Mhm.
People are realizing this is the next frontier. It's not the metaverse as some people thought, right?
Oh, I completely forgot about the
You forgot about the
metaverse.
metaverse? I did too. It was after, an hour of reading it. I was like, this is not going to take off.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's so funny. Okay, so actually AI, so when you say 45 billion, are you talking about,
You said 45
or
billion,
sorry,
30 to 40
30 to
billion.
40.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about like people are taking Chat GPT or some open AI platform and plugging it in or creating their own or what?
So usually for larger companies, what they're doing is they're integrating it. They're getting a license, right, from one of the big players,
Mhm.
but they're employing it internally with all of their data, all of their systems, and trying to create customizable revenue generating activities with it. So it's not just, hey, we have Chat GPT, anybody can just type into it. It's like an internal chatbot that they create with the underlying technology and employing all of the data, all of their processes, all of their systems,
Mhm.
right? That's what they're trying to do. It hasn't proven to be very successful yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of data that goes into that.
Mhm.
But there was a report by Nanda. That's great. It's
Nanda.
MIT Networked Agents and Decentralized AI, Nanda, NAND. And they created a report called the Gen AI Divide: State of AI in Business 2025. This is a mouthful, I understand.
Okay.
But what they said is that of that 30 to 40 billion dollars in spend for enterprise companies, 95% of these organizations are getting zero return.
Whoa. Wait, 95% of the companies who have spent this 30 to 40 billion
Hmm.
dollars, zero, really?
Zero.
Zero return?
Yeah. They're not getting any benefit yet.
In translation, however they're integrating it for their employees to use isn't moving the needle.
Right. So, and that was a big part of this. And there are a few other data points I really like here.
Mhm.
So, if you can do some math, we did some math earlier.
Okay. I'll
So
try.
95% are getting zero, 5% are extracting millions in value right now.
Okay.
So they've already kind of cracked the code internally on how it works for them specifically. What we're finding though is that 80% of the organizations have explored it. 40% have actually deployed some generative AI solution internally. Of that, only 5% of these custom enterprise AI tools actually reach production.
So 5% are making a difference,
Yes,
and then 5% of all of the development that they're trying to do is actually getting
making
deployed.
money. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
It,
5% might be the magic number for
magic
AI.
number.
That's
It's interesting because while 40% of the companies have actually purchased some sort of actual license, maybe with OpenAI or whoever else, right, to start creating their stuff, 90% of users, like employees at these companies, actually reported regular use of personal AI tools for work tasks.
so everyone's using it.
Everyone's using AI, but what they're often doing, instead of using an internal structure that's been created, that's been proven, that has all the workflows, everything tied to it, what's happening is people are just like, let me go figure out how to do this really quick. And they're just typing it into Chat GPT or whatever tool they want.
Honestly, that's not surprising coming from an ops background because I would venture to guess that a lot of these bespoke
Hmm.
generative AI tools probably have been overfit
Yes.
to the company. And the workflows are probably too rigid because I think anybody who's been in any job where you have a workflow that's already been
Mhm.
set for you, there's a lot of imperfections
Yeah.
and there's a lot of like, but what about this, but what about this, but what about this, it fits like a very narrow path of
Mhm.
how it can be used.
Yes.
And that's just like ops workflows in general.
Hmm.
That's one of the, I feel like that's why like operations teams and managers exist in the first place, is because it's it's too nuanced.
For all of the outliers, too.
Yes. So does it go, I would love to know if there's any commonalities of the 5% of companies that it's actually working for.
There is actually.
Oh, there
And
is?
they found very specific industries are benefiting more.
Oh, okay.
So, like IT, computer science, really anything to do with technology, writing code, those are the organizations that are benefiting the most.
Okay. Well, that makes
White
sense.
collar jobs, certain white collar jobs, where people can go type this in and have their email shortened and
Well,
everything
yeah,
like
but
that. The productivity measure of it is
that's
actually
that's
effective.
that's too broad though. Every company that you're talking about
Right.
is a white collar
So,
company.
yeah, so they talked about technology companies, IT specific roles like
Mhm.
writing code, and then finance, actually. So,
Ah.
in the financial world, a lot of data analysis happens in the
Mhm.
background. So, utilizing AI tools to make sure that the analysis goes through quickly,
Mhm.
that lots of data can be fed, and then people that are decision makers in the organization can utilize all of that and make the decisions from it.
Mhm.
Versus having a lower level analyst that's running through all these numbers and trying to articulate how a business is shaped and formed and revenue, net income, all that. It's just like, nope, using technology in that spot. Sorry, low level analyst.
That makes sense. And I actually saw an early adaptation of that
Hmm.
at the hedge fund that I worked at. We're actually going to talk about alternatives and money next week. So tune in for that. We're going to go a lot deeper into kind of my
Hmm.
expertise and where all that fits. But the the firm that I worked for was a quantitative long volatility hedge fund.
Hmm.
And that's a
What does that
that's
mean?
a mouthful. If you're familiar with the VIX, they basically traded VIX derivatives, so VIX futures and options. But the way that they did it, part of the reason the quantitative word,
Hmm.
they were using machine learning models
Okay.
to analyze. I can't even remember how many different signals we had. I mean,
Mm.
hundreds of data points that would have taken somebody if without that.
You're manually going through each
Yeah.
one of
And it
these.
was,
Yeah.
I mean, there were some that were so weird, like, oh, there's a correlation between um lumber sales in Germany and some other random thing in some other European country. And when these two do this or act in this way at the same time, that can mean something as long as like these 40 other things are also happening.
It reminds me of like those recession indicators, like the lipstick indicator, because oh, people are buying less lipstick, or the underwear indicator. I'm like, I don't know.
The
You should probably,
underwear indicator, what
yeah,
is
like
that?
people buy less underwear. They just
Oh,
keep it going.
because, oh,
Oh, I know.
oh gosh. Okay. No, it wasn't anything like that. But they would, I mean, and we would pull from Bloomberg terminals, we would pull
Mm,
down so much data.
yeah.
And it was, they were kind of an early adopter. It wasn't full generative AI. Um, our head data scientist would have to explain it because, and he tried to explain it to me like 5 times, and I would just be like, I would just nod my head and be like, cool, if you have an ops question, you come talk to me. Um,
And he was a professor too, so it's not
he
like he was
was, no,
head
he
in the
was,
clouds. He could articulate it.
was and is a
Yeah.
brilliant person. John, if you're listening, shout out. Um, but anyway, so I can absolutely see where as technology has gotten even better
Hmm.
and these AI tools have made it that much more seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense to me. Especially when you're talking about like really bespoke niche strategies or
Hmm.
really complex. Like when you get into the accounting and finance of major companies, I mean,
Hmm.
they have entire treasury departments
Mm.
that are in
That's
charge
true.
of like handling their cash reserves,
Yeah.
like that's it, that's entire people's jobs.
Hmm.
So that makes sense.
It's. I mean, the data that came out of this was astounding to me. There was one other piece tied to it and said buyers who succeed yeah, it's ironic, had process specific customization and could evaluate based off of business outcomes rather than software benchmarks.
Okay, what does that mean?
So oftentimes and this happened when my previous career all the time because I worked on the IT side and you have the business side.
Mhm.
Well, the business has some value add, something they want to produce, something that happens, and we go implement, right?
Yep.
So IT and business come back and forth all the time. And on the IT side, we often get the business requirements and then we're like, okay, let's go build. And then the business requirements change
Mhm.
and it it's called creep and like the project morphs into something completely unrelated to the original business requirements.
Right.
um and in that way, like IT, we got frustrated and we just be like, screw it, we have to close this project, just wrap it up, tie a bow on it, here you
Mhm.
go. And it's something that the business doesn't necessarily want as much, and something IT isn't very proud of at the same time.
Mhm.
And it's all just like merging toward this terrible compromise over and over again.
Everybody made a camel.
Yes. Oh yeah, we
So
were talking about this the other
yes.
day.
So if you're not familiar, there is a saying that's been around in the corporate world for a long time, which is a camel is a horse designed by committee.
Hmm.
Which, so if you have too many voices or competing interests or changing dynamics, and the more people you add into that, the more teams you add into that, the more complexity you add, the more likely with any sort of project, if you set out to design a horse, you're going to end up with a camel.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
and so I said that a lot in not so much now because that's not really our world anymore. But when I was in corporate America, there were so many times I was like, we are building a camel and it ain't a pretty camel. Like, this is not a thoroughbred by any stretch.
I've never seen a thoroughbred camel,
No,
but
you know what? A thoroughbred horse. Stick with the analogy. Come on.
I love it. But yeah, it's exactly right. So you're building something that neither side truly wants to build. And that happens often. And what they're seeing is that only the ones that have a specific niche for where generative AI actually helps a role, right? Or get something done much faster in a specific workflow already, that's where they're
Mm,
generating more revenue. So when you were talking about the operational workflows that you had before, and sometimes
mhm.
they're too niche, it seems like right now it's industries, certain industries are having success, and only within actually employing it within existing frameworks that make the process faster and probably more reliable. That's where they're moving the needle and making money off of it.
I think that makes sense. And I think it's funny that even, and we talked about this at length in part one
Yeah.
last week, of how I personally just don't buy into the fact that AI is going to take over all white collar jobs and we're just going to have a super high unemployment rate because there's going to be no jobs left and blah, blah. And part of that is because even when you have something like AI, which we
Hmm.
talked about, like could be the next industrial revolution
Yeah.
in terms of changes
Hmm.
to and um, growth in what work looks like
Hmm.
and what industry looks
Yeah.
like. But we're still dealing with the same problems. Like any tech that you try to implement, any new fun strategy or AI or whatever, like you still run into the same
Hmm.
issues because people have competing objectives and people have very different ideas depending on what their role is. Sales, marketing, legal, all those pieces have to work together, and trying to implement that, it actually doesn't surprise me now that I'm talking out loud and thinking through all of this that only 5% of companies have actually figured it out, even
And
though
made money doing
even
it.
though everyone's pumping billions of dollars into it.
Yeah. And I just remember we would always build anything new. It felt like it was just built on the previous framework anyway.
Oh yeah.
So you have all of these underlying pieces of code that have to interlock and then changes within those codes. And it becomes just a blurry mess.
Mhm.
And if you didn't comment your code, oh man, it was a huge
If you
problem.
didn't do what?
Comment your code. Like yeah,
Comment your code.
you write the code and then you say what the code is doing. So if you comment it,
Oh,
right? So
okay.
anybody coming in later would be like, oh, that's what that code is doing. So if they removed it altogether and like, it's not worth anything, it's like, oh, actually, no, that system's broken and we're losing $5 million every hour. Like,
Uh,
so all that to say, what is truly happening is like this is something that is a big tidal wave that's occurring,
mhm.
especially in the technology industry, like
Yes.
specifically. And we don't know how everything will be implemented, but people do see dollar signs,
Mhm.
right? I actually there was a study, not a study, it was an analyst from Morgan Stanley, Stephen Bird, who said our analysis, and this is through Morgan Stanley, right?
Mhm.
Our analysis suggests S&P 500 companies could accrue annual net benefits totaling some 920 billion. For perspective,
Wow.
and just helping y'all understand this, an extra 920 billion could boost operating profit margins by 6 percentage points to over 22%. After tax net income could rise by some 40%.
Wow. But that kind of feels a little contradictory to the study
Hmm.
saying only 5% of companies have figured it out. So is he saying like once more people are able to crack the code and implement this in a meaningful way, that's when this is going to happen, or just this 5% of companies could potentially drive that?
No, so he is, I think, in full acknowledgement that it's still in its early stages,
Mhm.
and generative AI isn't the AI of the future.
Right. We talked about that a
So,
little bit last week
yeah,
too.
it's more of the agent AI,
Mhm.
agentic AI, as people would say, that will really start to move the needle because it does tasks autonomously. You don't need human intervention. You don't need somebody to write something. It's like, nope, I just know my role. I know what I do. And it can iterate too. So it can be like, oh, that process interjects here. And I just now saw it now that I'm in here. And I'm
Mhm.
going to do XYZ now instead. So it's supposed to be like thinking for you. Um, so he's thinking of the overall opportunity
Okay.
tied to AI,
Mhm.
tied to the growth of technology, and the fact that companies will crack the code, right? Because every company that's not cracking the code, they're actually calling it. I forgot to put that in here. They call it an AI divide, some sort of divide.
Mhm.
The haves and have-nots when it comes
Oh,
to
okay.
companies figuring out how to use AI and make money.
And that's, I mean, that's wisdom, like business wisdom as old as time,
Hmm.
is as new technology is coming out, if you don't adapt and
Yeah.
if you don't figure out how to move as that technology moves, you are going to be left behind.
Hmm.
And AI is no different. That does lead to what might be a little bit of an elephant in the room. We are financial
Yeah.
advisors, and we have already started hearing about, we have already had people start asking us about
Hmm.
the hypotheticals or the um what's the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea.
The when you make a the predictions.
Yeah.
Ah,
We're there.
we're there. We're here. We got it.
We're back.
The predictions being made about how in the next 10 years
Hmm.
is what we've heard is
Yeah.
that financial advisors, us, that's our job, is going to be completely obsolete.
Hmm.
There's already a company out there who is touting itself as the company that's going to put advisors out of
Yeah.
business, which we all love, by the way. Love that language. It's great. Even though I will point out that they have to hire advisors in house to run part of their model, but that's it's fine. Um, just throwing it out there.
They're gonna figure it out, is what they're saying.
Yes, they're saying that. We obviously, goes without saying that we are biased towards that.
Hmm.
That I don't want to see my career and our business vanish in 10 years,
Right.
to be sure. And so we are actively thinking of ways and utilizing AI on a
Yeah.
regular basis for the sake of helping our clients, for the sake of being better at our jobs.
Hmm.
But what do you think about that whole idea in general? That in 10 years, like all of our clients are just going to fire us. No one's going to want to come on board because everybody's going to see us as obsolete.
Well, I think there's gonna be different types of groups, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna keep it simple and have two different types of groups.
Okay.
The first group is very tech focused. They don't want human interaction. It's kind of like when online banking happened, and so many people used to go into the banks.
Mm-hmm.
Now very few people actually go into the banks. They're just like, I don't want to talk to a teller. I just want my money, or I just want to put money here.
And I don't need to talk to
I
a
don't
teller.
need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the job isn't as demanding now. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's more like I can do this without the friction of having contact with another human being,
Yeah. Ugh.
right? But
Gross.
that's more
Talking to other
transactional.
people. Ew.
It's more transactional
Mm-hmm.
in nature, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, on the flip side, there are people that want to have human interaction when it comes to major decision points in their life.
Yeah.
Um, the phrase "rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn" comes to mind. It
Mm-hmm.
has come to mind a lot lately,
Yeah.
partially because I think a lot of people think of advisors as like, hey, they're the money guys, or they're going to help me plan for that vacation, that new boat, or buying a
Mm-hmm.
new house, or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. what I actually see often is preparing for things that are inevitable become really hard.
Yeah.
There are times where we have to encourage a client to seek long term care help for their spouse in the
Mhm.
house. We have to go to a funeral and mourn the loss of somebody that we know dearly and see family and friends around that are also
Mhm.
mourning. Um,
Who in the midst of that mourning have to grapple with a bunch of like financial and legal decisions
yes,
in the throes of their grief, which is really
it's
really
really
hard.
difficult.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, what we see is on the rejoicing, like people that are pregnant or adopting. We have multiple people in both categories right
Mhm.
now that we're able to serve, which is amazing. Their lives are getting they're about to be changed in many ways,
Mhm.
but just
Including financially.
including financially. So while it may be nice to just run this model and help people figure out if they go to public school or private school or saving for college, will college be around, like
Mhm.
all
Oh
these
yeah, all
crazy
of those things
questions that
too. Yeah.
we get asked all the time. um, but what I find most interesting about that is that people typically in those big decision points, they want to have a person to talk to.
And I think there is I agree with all of that, and I think there is another element to how people think about advisors
Mhm.
versus a lot of what we do on a
Sure.
daily basis. And so I go back, there was a phenomenal podcast episode. If you're familiar with the comedian Hassan Minhaj, he has a podcast. It's pretty new,
Mhm.
and he had a guy on named JL Collins. JL Collins is very well known in like the FI or FIRE movement, financial independence, or
Retire
retire
early.
early.
Yeah.
So he's been a big um, voice
Mhm.
in that kind of camp. And there's so much he said that he talks about that is phenomenal. And
It's
it's
spot on.
everyone should go
Yeah.
listen to it. So he talks about, your house is not an asset and why. And that's
Mhm.
like a really weird thing for people to
Yeah.
think about. He talks
It's
about,
trying what do you say? It's trying to break down every
he
second of
said
every
like
day.
you're at every moment your house is actively trying to return to the dust that it came from, and you have to actively work to keep that from happening. And so he's more talking about the fact that your house does not make you money, your house costs you money.
Mhm.
So he talks about that. He talks about car ownership, and
Yeah.
just there's a lot of different elements of it. So go check it out if you haven't seen it. I think it's really great. But he says he basically has three rules to
Mhm.
wealth. One is make less than what, or spend less than what you make.
Yeah.
Preach. Yes, absolutely. um the second is own index funds, and he talks specifically about VTSAX. um and then the I can't remember what the third one. Oh, if you're living on less than you make,
Yeah.
invest the excess.
Okay.
And then he says like invest in VTSX.
Sure.
um and that's kind of where he gets into, and he doesn't say it outright, but a lot of people listen to that and they're like, okay, well then why do I need a financial advisor?
Mhm.
Because as you said, people just kind of equate financial advisor is the person who manages my money. And we do. One of the ways we get paid is
Yeah.
on assets under management as a
Right.
percentage. That's how our business model works partially. um but a lot of what people miss is that, yeah, you can use ChatGPT, and you can, I mean, even without AI, there are calculators that you can
There have been
figure out.
calculators for like 20
Exactly.
years.
You
Yeah.
can figure out your dollar amount in
Mhm.
retirement. You can figure out how much you need to save. That's all, like that's math.
Mhm.
Nobody owns math. ChatGPT
Well,
can't even
calculator's
like
been around a lot longer
I
than
know
20 years, but
that's what I'm
yes,
that's what I'm saying.
the
Like,
online calculators that are on financial
yes,
websites. Yeah.
nothing about math is anything specific to like, oh, I can't figure that out without a financial advisor. Like, yeah, you can,
Yeah.
but what happens when you move past those basics? And
Mhm.
most people end up moving past the basics. And I'll just give one example. There's probably 15 I could give off the top of my head, but I'll give one. We're seeing more and more with W-2 wage workers that they're getting deferred compensation,
Mhm.
they're getting RSUs, they're getting stock awards. Some people are getting ISOs, some people are getting NSOs. Some people are hearing about this thing called net unrealized appreciation in their 401k.
Yeah.
Some people are hearing about, hey, if you got stock awards, you need to look at an 83B election and you have to do it within 30 days.
Hmm.
Um, those sorts of things are, and they're evolving, and
Yeah.
the rules are not static because the tax code, as
It's
everybody knows,
changing.
is not static and
It's
is changing
changing
on a
all the
regular
time.
basis. That's one element for people
Hmm.
that goes beyond live below your means and invest in VTSAX,
Yeah.
because it's just not that simple for most people, because most people have questions. And if you go on ChatGPT or if you go on YouTube, please don't go on YouTube to get financial advice. Like, we're not giving financial advice on this podcast. We're just talking about topics that interest us, because your position is far too unique to you,
Yeah.
and what works for you may not work for somebody else, and vice versa.
Tax, legal, like all of that.
Yeah.
There's just so much out there that is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or even, I mean, speaking of legal, convincing people to do estate plans.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness, that's so hard, and it's so necessary. I mean, there are people, we're like beating our head against the wall, like, you have to get a will and a trust in place, like,
Hmm.
today.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of the same with when I heard people talk about, DIY with YouTube,
Hmm.
of like, oh, people aren't even going to need plumbers or electricians or mechanics anymore because they can just go on YouTube and figure it out themselves. Sure,
Some can.
some can, but last I checked, there are still a lot of electricians and a lot of plumbers and a lot of mechanics who are very well employed right now.
Hmm. I think it's all a good point, and we won't know really for another probably 10 to 15 years how everything shapes out. But our goal is that we're always advancing with the technology,
Hmm.
that any client that's working with us is getting the latest, greatest, you name it, because we understand that technology is valuable. Um, but we also think the human interaction, the encounter with another, soul to soul encounter that you have with another human being is so impactful.
Hmm.
And it goes beyond just like, I need my trainer to work out. It's
Yeah.
it goes beyond that,
Yeah.
from an emotional standpoint, and from certain clients that we've walked for a number of years and seen different stages of life. Um, there's something truly valuable that we find in the relationship itself, and
Yes.
our hope is that our clients find that valuable too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, what's interesting is, I think it would be far more likely if, like, someone snapped their finger
Hmm.
and all of a sudden talking about money wasn't taboo.
Yeah.
We talked about this in one of our early episodes. One of the reasons we wanted to start this podcast was to talk about things in the context of money
Yeah.
that most people don't get to talk about and get to have conversations about, because it is still considered taboo. I think if that happened, if somehow it just became normal and accepted and wasn't considered like tacky or weird
Hmm.
to talk about money, that you would have fewer people going to financial advisors.
Yeah.
Because part of it is, there are so many people who call us, so many clients who call, and they're like, I know the numbers, but I
Hmm.
need you to walk through this with me. I just don't know.
Their earliest memory or most impactful memory of money when they grow up, from being a child, like that, that's something that stays with you,
Mhm.
and it impacts how you live your life every single time.
Mhm.
It could be that you learn something about frugality here, and now you're super frugal now, and you're in retirement and you're sitting on $2-3 million and you spend $30,000 a year.
And you're still concerned that you might run out of money.
I've seen it. I've
Mhm.
had these conversations, and I have to help people break past that and say, no, you can do what you want. You can go on those trips you've been dreaming about. You
Mhm.
can bless your grandkids. You can set up future generations. You can give philanthropically to organizations that you value and cherish.
Mhm.
Like, don't hold back.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a behavioral bias that comes from all of this. And when people are talking about AI, we're always primarily we're talking about efficiency and number crunching
Mhm.
and how quickly can it create a plan? Great. Is that the plan you want? Is that your plan?
Yeah. And I've said this ad nauseum. You've heard me say this a million times. I think I've said it at least once or twice on other episodes. But the reality is, on paper, we can have two clients or two prospects who have the exact same net worth,
Mm-hmm.
the exact same income.
Right.
They're in the exact same phase of life, same. If they're married, they've been married for the same amount of time. If they have
Mm-hmm.
kids, they have the exact same number of kids, same ages, same everything. And depending on their goals, depending on their emotional relationship to money, depending on their family history, all of these different things could lead us to provide wildly different plans
Yeah.
to those people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we know how to ask those questions. And I said on the last episode, and I think it applies here too, there is an intangible X factor about humanity. And as much as, like, using the example of a bank teller,
Mm-hmm.
as much as people, it is easier, quote unquote, it's easier in the moment to not have to deal with the friction
Yeah.
of being face to face with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something you just can't replace with the human element of knowing what's going on sitting across the table or across the computer screen in this day and age from somebody, and even reading their body language,
Yeah.
reading their, we've caught little facial expressions that we're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, let's tap into that a little
Right.
bit, that even in a agentic AI situation, I don't think can replicate.
Not yet.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will. There is something about the human element that we all experience
Mm-hmm.
that I just don't think that computers can actually fully realize. And with that, I mean, some groups, some industries, some jobs will fall away because maybe it's paper pushing, maybe it's just I know how this process works, and you train it how to do that process, and oh
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
you're it's done. But anything to do with how human beings orient and what they want to talk about, like
Mm-hmm.
there still should be some push, some way about it that human beings are heavily involved, and it's very much um, a callback to how life may have used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and people will want that somewhere.
Yeah. Anything that we talk about with finance, financial planning, investing decisions, there is an emotional element, no matter how much that you may assume doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
You're a human being. Your emotions affect you.
Hmm.
You are, people are like, I'm not emotional. Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. You're a human. You have emotion. Emotion is part of the human experience, which I don't care how much it can replicate it. AI can never feel emotion because it's not human.
I saw iRobot. I don't know. I think it can.
You
It can
did? I
feel.
never saw iRobot. I saw Wally. Wally learned to feel.
That's true. See.
Remember, he got the plant and he
Mm-hmm.
met Eve,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I've seen it too many times. On that note, though, we do see that AI and money has become, I mean, it's synonymous now. Like people are pouring billions of dollars into it every year. You hear of founders getting up and saying, we're going to pour this much more into it.
Mm-hmm.
What is crazy about it is that that's all based off of the hope that it's going to generate another 22 to 27% in the S&P 500 value.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Stocks do tend to go up, so they go up more than they go down, but
That's
they do
true.
go down every now and then.
Yeah. Sometimes a lot.
Yeah, I think this was a good follow-up conversation. Wait, we'll see. We'll see if I'm wrong. We'll see if we have a job in 10 years. Tune in. Uh, but it's been a good conversation. Like I said, next week we are going to talk about alts and money.
Hmm.
And our goal will be to demystify some of the common thoughts and opinions that
Mhm.
we hear pretty often. And I'm going to kind of dive back into my multiple years of experience in the alts world
Put
to
your alts
I'm going to put my little
hat.
alt hat on. You know, I love a good trucker hat, so I
Yeah.
would wear a trucker hat that says alts. I'll do it. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you, as always, have enjoyed the discussion, and we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, guys.